All right. Hi, my name is Caroline Smith, and my presentation is going to be addressing the question of, do earthworms show any differences in burrowing behavior into soil when exposed to the sweet treatments of white sugar and honey? So my experiment investigated how earthworm burrowing behavior responds to different sweeteners. And these are the ways that I sought to answer the research question. So the earthworms were observed burrowing in soil under various conditions, including a control condition with damp soil and no sweetener, as well as treatments involving white sugar and honey mixed into the bottom layer of the soil. So if the earthworms do exhibit burrowing behavior, then the average duration of their burrowing activity will be quantified by timing them. So the duration of burrowing and the two distinct sweetener test conditions will also be contrasted with the control condition so we can establish whether earthworms burrow at a faster or slower rate when exposed to the sweeteners. It will also be determined whether each sweetener had the same impact on burrowing behavior. So in my experiment, I chose white sugar as one of the test conditions because that was simply because white sugar is so easily available in the household. And then I also decided to try honey. And that was because it's actually more natural. So it's something that the earthworms could actually come across in their day-to-day life. And then I also wanted to see the difference between a solid sweetener, sugar, versus a liquid sweetener, honey. So the control group consisted of a layer of dry soil on top of a layer of wet soil, and there was no sweetener added to that layer of damp soil. In this case, all of the worms burrowed, and the average burrowing time was 135 seconds. So the first test condition was white sugar mixed into the damp soil at the bottom of the cup. In this case, one worm did not burrow, and the average burrowing time was around 150 seconds. Then the second test condition was honey mixed into that damp layer of soil at the bottom of the cup. This time I actually allowed 5 minutes for the worms to burrow. Three worms did not burrow in this case, and the average burrowing time was 236 seconds. So, in the situation of sugar, I hypothesized that due to the sugar being like a solid sweetener, that it would make it more difficult for the earthworms to burrow. So the findings do reflect that the earthworms actually did not really seem to be affected by the sugar because their burrowing times are pretty similar to the control. Um, However, I did notice that the earthworms, in the case of the sugar, actually maybe hesitated or started to burrow a lot more slowly. So I would say in this case, the hypothesis is somewhat supported. Now, with the honey, I hypothesized that due to the honey being liquid and also being available in nature, I thought it would attract the earthworms because most animals are attracted by honey. However, my findings definitely prove this hypothesis incorrect because the earthworms exhibited the longest burrowing time in the case of the honey. All right, now it's the conclusion. So, when exposed to the sugar treatment, the worms were a little hesitant to burrow at first, but ended up burrowing in times very similar to the control group. The average burrowing time for the control group was 135 seconds, and then for the sugar treatment, it was 150 seconds. So, the worms seemed to be pretty indifferent about the sugar. So when exposed to the honey treatment, the worms actually burrowed very slowly. The average burrowing time in this case was 236 seconds, which is almost 4 minutes. So it is definitely safe to say that the worms do not really care for honey. So now in the article that I was assigned to read, the worms were exposed to various olfactory cues, and these were specifically different fruity scents from different fungi. So I also tested the worm's attractions to different scents, but of course, in this case, it was sugar and honey. And so the first experiment definitely proved that worms are attracted to different scents because they are potential food sources. So while this That while the study in the article provided insights into the types of natural scents that attract earthworms, my research actually expands on this because I tested artificial sweeteners that are common in human environments. So, this study kind of expands upon research, exploring whether earthworms are also attracted to synthetic or processed sweeteners. And this could kind of help us start to understand how human environments can influence earthworm behavior. And that's all that I have. So, thank you so much.